the last films we're going to talk about, I guess these would be non-spoilers because these are films I have not seen.
And I would not hate to spoil them.
No. So one is The Brutalist with Adrian Brody.
I was super excited. I got to see this the other day, and I made a very interesting decision. It's about 3.5 hours with a 15-minute intermission that's built into the movie, and I saw a 9:00 showing of it.
Okay.
So I didn't leave the theater until PM.
Okay.
So I didn't leave the theater until like almost 1 a.m.
Wow.
But I mean, what a movie. Like the way that it's been talked about is it's been phrased as this is like this generation's American epic. Like if you want to talk like, like The Godfather, There Will Be Blood, like those like just these long, expansive like character dramas that, tell these grand ideas about America and what it means to be in America. I mean, this is a movie at its core about the American dream and, the idea of the American dream and the reality of the American dream. And to do my best to, not talk about specific stuff. I mean, Adrian Brody, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people have been saying it's his best performance since he was in The Pianist, and I think I would agree. I mean, I love Adrian Brody. I've seen him in a lot of great stuff, but he's on another level in this one. The Guy Pearce was also fantastic.
Oh, nice.
I mean, he plays this like rich, this like super rich guy that sort of fosters the career of Adrian Brody's character. I believe Laszlo Toth, I believe is how you say his last name. He's a Jewish immigrant from Hungary. And it really is just such an interesting exploration into, what the American dream and that sort of experience was like for immigrants coming to the country around that time, post World War II, and particularly for Jewish immigrants coming post World War II. The first half of this movie is like, it's beautiful, like it's shot in VistaVision, and it looks so cool. I didn't get to see it in 70 millimeter. I know that some places like the Coolidge are showing it in 70 millimeter, and everyone that I've heard that's seen it in that, it says go see it like that. It apparently just looks, the colors. I mean, even in my experience from just seeing it on laser digital, like the colors were popping off the screen. I mean, the cinematography is beautiful. It's a bit of a slow burn. Like you really feel, you get to see these really intimate moments, and you get to really see the vision that it takes and the path that he goes out to get to where his life takes him. And you're basically experiencing his entire life. I think the movie spans, I think, like 30 years of his life. It starts in like 1949 and ends in like the 80s. So, the first half of the movie, absolutely phenomenal. Like really had me on the edge of my seat. Like when it went into the intermission, like it ends on such a high note, and you're just like, oh, I can't wait for the rest of this. The second half didn't really follow through the way I was hoping it would. But at the end, this isn't a spoiler, there's like an epilogue, and that kind of wraps everything up nicely, and the sentiment that it ends on really makes sense given the whole movie. But it's definitely a movie you're going to want to see. I mean, the performances are fantastic. I mean, Felicity Jones is great. I can't remember the name of he has his niece. It was his sister's daughter that he's taking care of. She does a very good job. Joe Alwyn is good. And I couldn't remember most of the other people that were in the movie, but and the score too. That's the other thing. I took a class in college about like film score, so I'm always very attentive to how score complements or sometimes contradicts what you're seeing, and this score did a really good job of just like heightening the experience.
I watched I think it was a Variety. They had all the directors, like the great directors of this year, sit down. They had the director of The Substance. They had Ridley Scott. Yeah. They had Denis Villeneuve on there. And they also had the director of The Brutalist.
It's Brady Corbet. I always thought it was Corbett, but I believe it's Corbet.
Yeah, Corbet. And they're talking about, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but they said the opening boat scene is very good.
Yeah.
They described it like, again, they're directors, so they kind of described like what their intention was. And so I can't wait to see this, because the way they described it, without giving away too much, but like a little disorientation followed up with immediate clarity kind of moments.
No, that's I haven't seen that, but that is a great way to describe that. And it's to talk about the score again, like the song that plays over that opening scene is just like triumphant, and I think it does a really good job of sort of portraying the promise that the people on the boat are feeling coming to America and stuff like that, and the ideal of what they think the American dream will be for them. It does a really good job of sort of portraying that, I think.
I think I had to watch this movie at home because there's no way I can go out with a wife and baby. There's no way I can go out and watch a 3.5 hour movie with an intermission. But yeah, the Brutalist. I'm high on my list right now to watch. Another movie that's high on my list to watch is A Real Pain with Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin.
Yeah.
I was have to slowly say it because again, Macaulay is already ingrained in my brain.
Yeah. No, that was fantastic. I saw that in one of the smaller screening rooms at the Coolidge, and it's really fun. Like my biggest takeaway from that is so Jesse Eisenberg, he wrote and directed. I think it's his debut. I don't know about writing, but I know it's at least his directorial debut. Him and Kieran Culkin, it doesn't really feel like they're acting. Mm-hmm. Like it just feels like it's them. Like have you seen Succession?
No. Well, that's the show he was on. That I was thinking about.
Yes, Succession, fantastic show. And it's almost like he's playing a version of his character, Roman Roy, but not as maybe not as raunchy and not as pretentious, because obviously they're very different people on different sides of the class spectrum and whatnot. But Kieran Culkin is just like at his best, just being like that little that pest little brother. Because they're cousins, they're not brothers, but it's sort of telling the story of them going on this journey to Poland to visit the town that their grandmother grew up in. And their grandmother had just recently passed away, and part of her inheritance that she gave them was money to go on a trip there. And they take part in this. They're both Jewish, and they're taking part in this Holocaust history and the history of being Jewish in Poland sort of tour, and them interacting with the people on the tour. The characters, the minor characters are really interesting, like their backstories and how family and religion relate to their lives, and even like history relate to them. It's all very interesting, and just the dynamics between the two of them, like Kieran Culkin being this just very jittery, like he's always wired, and Jesse Eisenberg being this more subdued and calm, and like let's do everything neat and organized, and the way that they sort of clash and their personalities clash, it's so fun to watch it play out.
And the only thing I knew about this, I actually have not even watched the trailer, but I got the sense from a couple brief seconds, is that it's like a traveling trip.
Yes.
Like they're on a journey somewhere. I don't know why, I don't know where, but they're traveling together, and they're not exactly fans, or they're not exactly excited for it. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, they're excited to get together, but like dealing with the emotions that this trip brings up for them is a lot, and the premise, and this isn't entirely a spoiler because they talk about it pretty early, but they haven't seen each other in a while, so they're getting back together, and they're both. It's an interesting exploration of how both of them deal with grief, because they're both grieving very much, and they're almost not willing to admit it at first. Have you seen it's a movie by my favorite director, Wes Anderson? Have you seen the movie The Darjeeling Limited?
No.
It's a very good movie. It's very similar to that. I kind of jokingly compared it to that with some of my friends, but it's very similar. It's the Darjeeling Limited is a great movie. It's Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, and Jason Schwartzman as brothers dealing with the loss of their father and trying to find their mother. And it's a very similar story talking about grief and family and a journey to do that, and there's chaos and comedy and stuff like that. So no, A Real Pain's definitely worth checking out. My only problem that I had with it is it was kind of similar to the Brutalist, where like it's very character driven, and like at times like it feels like the plot kind of goes away, and it seems like they're more focused on just the characters, which is fine, but would just love for it to tie up with a nice bow at the end. But not every movie's like that, and but no, it's if you want to see like two really good actors just like given their A game at being characters, like this is a great movie for that.
So the funny thing is, so I watched an interview, I don't know who he was talking to, but Jesse Eisenberg was talking about directing it, and so that's like, oh, that's cool that he's also directing it. Kieran and Jesse were both on a talk show, and so Kieran was like, do you know how I got the job? And they're like, oh no, how? It's like, Jesse just reached out to me, he called me, and he said, hey, I haven't seen any of your work, but I think you'd be good for this. Based on us just knowing each other. And Kieran's like, we've only met twice, and just like in passing. He's like, yeah, but in those 2 moments, I got the sense of who you were. And so again, I haven't seen any of your shows or your movies, but I think you'd be perfect for this role. And so that was basically it.
It was a great call on his part.
And the funny thing too is Kieran was saying that he almost backed out of the film, and then Jesse was quick to say, yeah, 2 weeks before the movie started. And he was like, yeah, but it's a good thing I stayed because it ended up being a really good movie.
Yeah.
That's funny because, like, again, like Jesse, like I think if you've seen interviews with him or whatever, you know, he's a not peculiar, but he's a unique person who has like his heart on his sleeve, and so it's just funny to have him, like, he was going to play Kieran's role, but then he decided to switch it up.
Oh gosh, I don't think he could have done that.
Yeah, but that's good judgment. That's really good judgment.
That's a good call.
And so, so it looks really fun. It's getting really good buzz, good reviews.
Yeah.
As you know, you're just describing. So that's on my list of things to watch too.
It's definitely a very good, fun watch. I mean, there are moments where it can be very heavy, but you know that's just the nature of, you know, it's just a good story, and you know it's a good laugh at times. If you're a fan of those two actors, it will hit for you.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited. So go check out if you've watched The Brutalist or Real Pain. Do you know why it's called Real Pain? Like, do they say? At one point, do they say you're a real pain in my butt or something?
I think I think they do at some point. Yeah. But I can't remember.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, so if you've seen either film or any of the three, The Substance, The Brutalist, or A Real Pain, let us know down below in the comments what you think. What are your thoughts? What are some movies that we haven't mentioned or seen that we should also check out before award season really ramps up?